Hi everybody, today we've got another 2024 matchup. This time it's going to be Marianne Williamson for the Democrats and Nikki Haley for the Republicans. This was suggested to me in the comments. Sounds like an interesting one, so let's dive right in. Marianne Williamson, she would be the clear progressive choice. That is going to fire up a lot of the Democratic base, the establishment liberals, a lot of the corporate class. They're not going to be a fan of Williamson at all. They're going to come out against her. The establishment might completely try to torpedo her campaign. That is going to hurt her. Similar to how it would go for Bernie Sanders. Now, Williamson, I think, would be strong with the progressives, but I don't think she has enough of a following or backing like Bernie Sanders did. She's kind of portrayed as some kind of a fringe lunatic with the crystals and the magic healing. I don't think that's fair, but I do think the smears are there, and if she was actually the nominee or close to becoming the nominee, those smears would definitely amplify. Now, Nikki Haley, she's mostly an establishment Republican at this point. The Trump base, not a big fan of her. She's going to be viewed as pro-war, and pretty much line by line, she's going to be an establishment neocon. Now, if Williamson were actually running a national campaign, I'm assuming her name recognition gets all the way up. I'm assuming she's taken seriously. She gets enough funding. Same with Nikki Haley. So let's go through some of these states, and we'll talk more about it at the end. Alaska will be safe for Haley. Hawaii is going to be safe for Williamson. Washington, Oregon, California, safe for Williamson. How about Nevada? Well, I think Marianne Williamson, she is going to have some appeal with the working class, especially on economics. However, I think enough voters, enough independents, they're going to be put off by her. They're going to think she's too far outside the mainstream, and that's going to cause the state to go to Nikki Haley by a tilt margin. Idaho and Utah, safe for Haley. Arizona, in this matchup, this is going to flip back to the Republicans. Haley is going to win this by probably 2 to 3 points. Williamson, not a great fit here. Haley, the establishment Republican, would do better. Montana, Wyoming, safe for Haley. Colorado, that'll be over 10 points, safe for Williamson. New Mexico, it's tough to say, but I kept it at its usual rating of likely for Williamson. North and South Dakota, safe for Haley. Nebraska at large, safe for Haley. In the 2nd District, I think Williamson would again be viewed as too extreme, and it's going to go red this time for Nikki Haley, probably low single digits. Kansas and Oklahoma, safe for Haley. How about down in Texas? This, I think, would get close to actually being safe, but Williamson's turnout would be a little bit more unknown, so I kept it at probably about a 9.5 point margin, likely for Haley. Let's go up to Minnesota. This is another tough one. Maybe Williamson does a lot better than I anticipate, but I do think this would probably get under 5 points, and it's going to go leans for Williamson. Next state, Iowa. I think they could hit just into double digits, so that's going to be safe for Haley. Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, safe for Haley. Let's go to Wisconsin. This is another state where Haley is going to be viewed as the moderate. She's not going to be smeared as much as Williamson, and it's going to go about 1 to 2 points, leans for Haley. Illinois, low double digits, safe for Williamson. Michigan, this is a tough Rust Belt state. Generally, the Democrats do a little bit better here, especially on economics. I wasn't sure which way to go, but in the end, I gave it to Williamson by a tilt margin. Indiana, safe for Haley. Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, safe for Haley. Down in Florida, that's probably going to be high single digits, close to 10, likely for Haley. I think Williamson would be painted as a socialist. Florida is not the right state with that brand. Next, in Georgia, this is a state that usually the Republicans have a tough time in, but with Williamson on the ballot, I think Haley would be able to win it, at least by 1 or 2 points. It could even go higher than that, so it's going to be leans for Haley. South Carolina, Nikki Haley's home state, is going to be safe for Haley. North Carolina, I think that'll hit about 5 points, maybe 5.5, so that's going to go likely for Haley. Let's go to Ohio. This, I think, will be high single digits, 9 to 10 points. It's going to be not quite safe, likely for Haley. West Virginia, safe for Haley. Maine at large will get down just under 5 points, leans for Williamson. The 1st District, still safe for Williamson. The 2nd District, I went with likely for Haley. Now we've got New Hampshire. It's tough for the Republicans these days, but eventually I ended up going with a tilt for Nikki Haley. Vermont, New York, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, and Washington, D.C., safe for Williamson. Now we've got Pennsylvania. This is one I think would be close, but I went with a tilt for Haley. And the last state is going to be Virginia. That would be closer this time, but it's going to go leans for Williamson. So there's your final map, and that comes out to 302 for Nikki Haley, 236 for Williamson. So let's talk about it a little bit more. So these ratings have very little to do with what I personally want to see happen. I mainly think Marianne Williamson would be abandoned by the establishment, corporations. A lot of those people are going to come out, smear her, or smear her supporters, and they're going to either support Haley and the establishment on that side, or they're just not going to back anybody at all. Now the progressives, I think, would come out for Williamson. Her positions do seem to be socially and economically progressive or populist, and a lot of working class voters are going to take note of that. They're going to especially want to come out for the economic issues. Now I know she's also big on the climate, social justice. I think she would go too far in that direction. For a lot of independents, voters in the middle. That's why Nebraska's second swings back. Georgia swings back with the Atlanta suburbs. Same in Maricopa County in Arizona. Now the Rust Belt, I think, does especially like populist economics. That's why I think those states are still fairly close. So Williamson is going to also probably talk about abortion. That is a social issue that would favor her. But if she wants to have any chance at this, I do think she should focus on the economics. Progressive income tax, raising the minimum wage, paid parental leave, estate taxes, going after the rich and powerful. That's what she should focus on, and I think that would help her and make her competitive in enough of these states. The establishment Democrats, as well as Republicans, they're going to be scared off by tax increases, taxing corporations, progressive income taxes. That's something the establishment is going to come together on and try to defeat Williamson on. I'm not saying that's fair, I'm just saying that's what I think would happen, and that's where I think Haley would do better. Now Haley is going to have to talk about abortion herself. She can't just come out and say ban all abortions. That's not going to work at all. But she's going to have a realistic plan to deal with immigration. She can't just say comprehensive immigration reform. That doesn't mean anything. And she can't just talk about tax cuts and the budget deficit. That's not going to cut it either. I think Haley's best option to win would be to have the establishment on both sides gang up and smear Williamson, brand her as too extreme, that she's going to raise everybody's taxes. You're not going to be able to start a small business, and keep scaring off voters in that direction. And then Haley could just swoop in, appear to be the sane moderate, and relatively coast to victory. So that's some of how I see this going, but this would be a fascinating race to watch. A real progressive going against a modern, mostly establishment Republican. We know what happens when Bernie Sanders got close to winning the nomination. The DNC was not going to have any of it. They had to defeat Bernie. I think they would do the same thing with Williamson, but I think given that she has less of a movement behind her, she would have less of a chance than Bernie did. I think the liberal establishment really does not want and probably even fears an anti-establishment candidate, and that's probably enough to influence enough voters to either stay home or support Nikki Haley. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Williamson's messaging would actually turn out new voters that have had enough of the liberal establishment, and they would come out hard for her in places like the Rust Belt or Nevada. Maybe some of these margins would be reduced in the deep red states. That's a possibility. It's hard to say, given we haven't really seen anything like that. We got a taste of it with Bernie, as I said, but we need to see it in the general election. I think this time Haley would come out on top, but that's just what I think. You're going to have different states, different margins. But let me know in the comments, do you agree with this map, or would you change some of these states and change some of these margins? Let me know down below. On your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video.